Before we get into this week's episode, a word of warning. If you haven't yet watched the Marlow Murder Club all the way to the end, please stop listening to this podcast right now and watch that first, as we're about to discuss the ending and reveal the killers. Consider this a blaring spoiler alert. Sufficiently warned? Ready? Okay, grab your tin of travel sweets and let's head off to Marlow. I'm Jace Lacob, and you're listening to Masterpiece Studio. 3 victims, many suspects, and countless alibis. At the start of episode 4, the sheer weight of this case has started to take a toll on everyone involved. Susie and Bex are feeling exhausted and hopeless. Judith is haunted by flashbacks, and Tanika Malik is beginning to question her instincts.
The reason I chose you is because you've got good instincts.
I hired 3 untrained women as civilian advisors.
And they've been getting results. You should back them. You should back yourself.
Before anyone can figure out what's going on, Judith Potts has a moment of clarity and realizes there's going to be one final murder victim. Herself.
Bex!
I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's Judith. I think there's something wrong.
Why?
I've been calling her landline, there's a not in service message, and she's not picking up her mobile. I think she's in danger.
Thanks to her friends Susie and Bex, the support of Tanika and the police force, and that convenient powdery sweet sugar from her travel candies, Judith unmasks the killers, solves the case, and comes out alive. All is well again in Marlow, and the newly minted Marlow Murder Club enjoys a well-earned celebration on the river.
I suggest we look to the future. Champagne, anyone?
Yes, please.
Today, actor Samantha Bond is back to talk with us about the series as a whole and reflect on her character's arc from independent retired archaeologist to amateur detective, alongside her new friends and fellow sleuths, Susie and Bex. We are joined once again this week by the Marlow Murder Club star, Samantha Bond. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Episode 4 begins with a flashback to a young Judith in Greece as we learn what happened with her husband and perhaps why she's so enamored of a life on her own terms, a sense that's echoed by the shot of her alone in the middle of the river. How does her husband's betrayal and the ensuing scandal shape the woman that she's become?
I think she was horrified by what her husband did. I think it was a betrayal of her, of their marriage, of their love. And I think it does lead to years of not loneliness, because she isn't lonely, but singleness, of doing things alone, of not trusting, I think is a huge part of it. But it certainly drives her on.
I think that's the thing that I love most about this reveal is there is this sense of heartbreak and anguish, but this was also a very formative experience that perhaps gave Judith the mettle to strike out on her own, to be tested and tempered by adversity. Do you see it then perhaps as maybe both the source of her pain, but also the reason for her strength today?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. I think if you've endeavored to do something alone, that has given her strength. It's given her a drive. It's hard to imagine a betrayal like that. That's what they did together, was archaeology. And they'd made this incredible discovery. And he threw that discovery away.
And in a way, this investigation becomes a way for her to sort of reclaim that as something that is hers. I love seeing in this episode how her mind works, how everything is a puzzle to be solved. She tapes together the shredded page from the magazine and she finds a major clue. These obituaries for people who witnessed Ezra's will a year after their deaths. What is archaeology to Judith ultimately? Is it another puzzle to be solved? The ultimate puzzle?
It really is the next puzzle. And she brings everything from her archaeological background to crime solving. But she does it meticulously. She does it forensically. She doesn't make assumptions. She doesn't jump into the dark. It's all, methodically worked out.
Susie finds Judith's archaeological storage room and the newspaper story about Philippos's theft of the statue of Artemis. which finally allows Judith to tell her story.
We discovered it. We found it together. And then he sold it for a fortune to whoever. And it's not been seen since.
Was he caught?
By the time I knew for sure that it was him and I'd gone to the police, he'd skipped the country. Left me. I wasn't able to shake the scandal. It followed me for the rest of my career.
Why has Judith kept the truth about her past buried for so long? And what does it mean that she allows herself to be vulnerable with Susie and Bex, even just for a minute?
I think she's kept her past secret because it's a betrayal by him. It's a huge disappointment. Why should anyone else know about it? And that scene is one of the most phenomenal scenes I've ever shot. That scene weaves through at least 3 rooms that I can remember. And it's something like 7 pages of dialogue, which is colossal to do in one day. And Joe and Cara and I had worked really, really hard to be right on it. But then you go from, Judith being slightly whimsical and quite funny and this, that, and the other, and you're in a filthy room and there was a lot of dust and the newspapers. And then on a sixpence, the scene becomes black and grim. And for Judith, it's a huge emotional moment to realize that the women now know her past. It was huge for all of us.
She says,
I lied. And if I'm being honest, I knew what I was doing. But I was in love and I was stupid.
It wasn't your fault.
You don't understand.
But it was your husband who...
I'd like you to leave.
What?
Both of you.
Judith.
Please.
I'm so
go.
sorry. This is on me. I shouldn't have...
Now.
what goes through her head? Is it too much all at once to have this pouring out after so many years of keeping the truth bottled up so tightly?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think that she thought she could keep the past in the past. And at that moment, she realizes she can't, which makes her incredibly vulnerable. She doesn't know the women quite well enough yet for that to be okay, but she will get to know them.
It is this first step of vulnerability. And I love that it's taken 4 episodes to get her to that point. And she doesn't do so willingly. This is sort of forced out of her. And then she pulls back. But we know she'll be able to open up again. And I think that we're seeing this first step here. So I love the moment when Judith realizes that Elliot has headed out on a fishing trip and says so matter-of-factly,
There's going to be a 4th murder. Me.
how is she so calm in this moment, so clear-headed about it?
I don't know how calm she is, really. I think if there have already been 3 murders and suddenly your name has gone to the top of the list, I don't know that she's calm. I think she knows that she wants to protect Susie and she wants to protect Bex. So I think she's closing the doors and just trying not to let anyone else get hurt.
Before this next question, a brief word from our sponsors. Ocean voyages, expeditions, river journeys. Viking is dedicated to bringing travelers closer to the destination, offering a small ship experience and a shore excursion in every port. Learn more at Viking.com. Judith stages the scene so effectively and reveals she knows it's Danny before he removes his balaclava. And I was reminded of Strangers on a Train here, the crisscross with the multiple killers. That Danny killed Stefan for Elliot Howard, Elliot killed Iqbal for Giles Bishop, Giles killed Liz for Danny. What did you make of the big twist here, the reveal that there was this crisscrossing of killers and not one single killer?
I remember when I was reading the scripts before I had the part, and I was reading on the sofa, and then I would laugh because, as you know, there are lots of funny things that happen. And then in the last 20 minutes, my husband, all he could hear was me going, "Oh," because he had no idea that it could be that complex. You had no idea that it would be the story that we now know, that each time a murder happened, the person who wanted to kill someone was somewhere else in the country. I mean, it's a brilliant intrigue.
What I love is it all comes back to the river, to these three men rowing together with Giles as their coxswain and coming together at the regatta. In retrospect, does Judith's wild swimming actually point the way to the mystery's solution?
In her wild swimming is when she has some of her best moments of revelation. So if you watch a boat of 4 rowers, and then there's the little one at the back, and that's, I think, a moment when she goes, "Oh, hold on a minute." Because all the men are very tall, they're oarsmen. So the actors are all 6'3", except one. And he's 5'3". So he is part of the link, but he can't have been an oarsman. He has to be the cox. And I think moments like that, the moment when I'm in the middle of the river and the oarsmen are going past, is when Judith suddenly goes, "Hang on a minute, they're not all 6'4". Someone has to be in charge of the boat.
The motif of Judith's travel suites pays off magnificently here as well, as she flings the powder in Danny's eyes and then stabs him with her crossword pencil, that mighty weapon from the beginning.
Yep.
How did you interpret this moment? Is it Judith at her sharpest?
It's her pencil at its sharpest. Yeah, no, it shows a great deal of calm in her. It is quite funny when you have to make enough sugar come out of a packet of sweets, because that's an awful lot of sugar to blind someone. But that's not something she's pre-prepared. That's just her thinking on her feet and in the moment.
Judith begins the series on her own, wild swimming in the Thames, and ends it on a boat with friends and fellow sleuths, Bex and Susie, toasting to us. There's a sense of belonging and commonality, that no woman is an island. How does that final image function as a bookend to Judith's isolation at the start of Marlow Murder Club?
Oh, I think it's enormous. I would like to say for the record that some of that punting was me. Not easy. And the pole is incredibly heavy. But I think it's a lovely resolution for the three of them, actually. You know, Bex's life is a bit dull. Susie's life is lonely. And Judith has suddenly found 2 comrades. And one would like to think they'd go on being friends post-murder.
There's a series 2 of Marlow Murder Club on tap, though it will have a different format, with each 2-episode block telling a complete mystery. First, an adaptation of Robert Thorogood's Death Comes to Marlow, and then 2 new mysteries written by Lucia Haynes and Julia Gilbert. What can you tell us about series 2?
Oh, gosh, we've only really just finished shooting. It was gorgeous. And because Joe and Cara and I now are friends, it brings, I think, a greater warmth. I think it brings more strength between the 3 of them. And the stories are fabulous. We've had some incredible guest leads. So, and there's always a moment when someone's revealing something and you've got a guest lead come in and they are flawless. I mean, just flawless. But as in season 1, it's the intricacy, the complexity of the plots that give them their weight.
So finally, I have to ask, you touched on it a little bit, but where might we find Judith Potts when we pick back up with her in episode 1, series 2? And has she perhaps found more of a sense of belonging in Marlow?
She has certainly developed the friendship with the girls, women, but they're all now, all their tentacles, talons are alive for the possibility of another adventure. And they get 3 adventures.
3 new adventures. Samantha Bond, thank you so very much.
Been a great pleasure. Bless you.
Next time, we travel to the world of 16th century England and King Henry VIII's court.
Do you remember how you used to compare the king to a tamed lion? You can pet him, you can pull at his ears if you wish, but all the time you're thinking to yourself, those claws. Look at those claws.
Join us next week as we tease fact from fiction with Wolf Hall production researcher Kirsten Clayton-Yardley. Masterpiece Studio is hosted by me, Jay Slay Cobb, produced by Jack Pombriant, and edited by Robin Bissett. Alicia Etup is our sound designer. The executive producer for Masterpiece is Suzanne Simpson.